Time now for the latest royal and entertainment news. Joining us in the studio is News Corp columnist Angela Mollard. Angela, great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Let's start with Prince Andrew. Another dramatisation of Prince Andrew's infamous BBC interview is out on Amazon today. Here's a quick look.
Do you regret any of your behaviour or your friendship with Epstein?
Now, still not.
The Queen is in shock. The bottom line is to ensure that this scandal never touches the crown.
I'm fighting for my life here.
Whether Prince Andrew's guilty or not, it was the entitlement. He just couldn't help himself.
What do I do? You do believe me, don't you?
It was such a brilliant interview, wasn't it? But what can we expect from this?
Look, this is apparently getting great reviews. And we saw Scoop earlier in the year. There was, of course, the book about this. And, of course, that interview back in 2019 with Emily Maitlis on Newsnight. This is getting interesting reviews because it says it looks more at the impact on Prince Andrew's daughters. Of course, it will look at that interview and that real tension. I mean, it was roundly slammed as a car crash interview. It did Andrew no favours. Of course, he's always maintained his innocence, even though there was that payout to Virginia Giuffre. But I do think the fact that it's still in our imaginations shows how much interest there still is in this story revolving around the Queen's, apparently favourite son.
Yeah, absolutely. I just could never forget watching that interview. I think everyone just had those moments where your jaw's dropping, all those one-liners that he said, pretending he never sweat. And
that had been to the Pizza Express with his daughter. And look, I've written a piece on the fact that on the back of this coming out today, it really is time that Prince Andrew moved out of Royal Lodge. It's a 30-room house. He's been offered Frogmore Cottage, which was, of course, where Meghan and Harry used to live. And my argument is he has to do it on behalf of his daughters. They've already been stung by this. If William comes to power, let's say Charles becomes more sick and William comes to power prematurely while his children are still young, he is going to need his cousins, among them Beatrice and Eugenie, as well as the Tyndalls, Zara Tyndall, to be alongside him. When we saw that at Royal Ascot earlier this year, because Kate was out of action, because the King was out of action, he pulled in his cousins. And I think even though the current monarch wants a more slimmed-down monarchy, William may well need to have more support in the ranks.
Yeah, it's a good point as well, for the sake of his daughters. How quickly do you think he needs to be out of the Royal Lodge?
Oh, imminently. I mean, the King wanted him to be out a couple of years ago, but then, of course, the Duke of York's ex-wife, who lives with him, Fergie, she, of course, got cancer. Now, no one would push anyone out of their home while they're going through treatment. So it's understandable that there was no pressure then. But now it's too grandiose. It's a big house for a couple of empty nesters. So it's not a good look as well.
Let's talk about Prince Harry. The royal family have posted this photograph of Prince Harry for his 40th birthday. Look, I want to take a look at it and see, what does that photograph tell you? It's an interesting choice. Obviously, no Meghan Markle there.
Absolutely. No Meghan Markle, neither of his children, not that we've seen much of them anyway. But what's interesting about this photo is they had to go back as far as 2018 to find one of him looking really happy. Yeah. So this was taken in Ireland.
Not
at
whinging.
An event. Exactly. I know. So to think you have to go back, 6 years to get a picture where he is genuinely happy. Look, it is interesting that they've posted about his 40th birthday. Of course, it's a milestone birthday. But interestingly, they haven't posted about his birthday since 2021. Obviously, in 2022, it was this time of year when the Queen had died. So, of course, they were never going to draw focus away from that event. But look, I do think it suggests there's a slight softening, even if it's just an outward showing one rather than what's happening internally. We've got no indication that William and Harry have repaired that relationship, but to suggest that, that they're wishing, that the King is wishing his son, birthday wishes, I think is a good thing.
I do agree with you. It seems like it's a nice gesture. Now, look, Princess Catherine has made a comeback to her royal duties as she carried out her first engagement treatment since completing chemotherapy. The 42-year-old took time off work after announcing in March that she had been diagnosed with an undisclosed form of cancer. Look, I think everyone was waiting for this moment to see Princess Catherine back engaging in her royal duties.
I think that's the point, isn't it? Is that even though we saw her at Wimbledon and we saw her at Trooping the Colour, this is actual work. This is the thing. This is her legacy project, early childhood care. And this was what this was. It was a meeting at Windsor Castle, no photos, just behind the scenes. But on the court circular, they have to annotate which members of the royal family are doing what each day. And it was, I think there's really, there's a feeling of, oh, phew, after that beautiful video, of course, that they presented on September the 9th, to actually see her back at work. For any of us who've gone through a major illness, that's a real point of we are back in the world. We're back to some form of normal, even if behind the scenes, I'm sure it's still enormously challenging.
Of course. And she just does it so well, doesn't she? And she looks beautiful, so elegant. Finally, to the story that is rocking Hollywood. Rapper and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has pleaded not guilty to trafficking and racketeering charges. According to the indictment, Diddy turned his music empire into a criminal enterprise. Angela, what more can you tell us on this story?
Oh, look, this story just gets worse and worse. I mean, it's an allegation at this stage, though he is in custody. What's emerging in some of the evidence is that he would hold these freak-offs, which were events where people were drugged, they were forced into sexual acts, these were recorded, they were then bribed with those sexual recordings. They even had to be sort of rehydrated after the drug binges with IV drips and that sort of thing. So it was a massive operation going on behind the scenes, allegedly. He, of course, and his team are arguing that it was all consensual, that those involved consensual. But anyone who's seen the domestic violence that he dished out on his girlfriend knows this is a nasty human being. Whether he will be found guilty of these charges or not, obviously it has to play out, but there will be a lot of detail. And it speaks so much, doesn't it, to the generation of those sort of kingmakers, those big Hollywood power players who have gone through the system, and Me Too continues to rumble on, and it will for a while yet.
As you say, just allegations at this stage, but those details are pretty horrific and pretty awful. But Angela, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed. Thanks for having us, joining us on Power Hour.
Thanks.